going to try to make a video here. So this is one Maxi panel. So it's a yard of fabric, but they're actually 40 inches. And so they're sideways, if that makes sense. Okay. So, how do I make a dress? So I'm going to fold this in half as best I can. Doesn't particularly want to fold easily because it's bamboo, but we're gonna try. That doesn't look like it's very happy. Nope. Doesn't want to do that. Okay. Folding take 2. Okay, I'm going to line my folded edge up on the inch line here, just so that I can know it's straight for everything I'm about to do next. Okay. These lovely rulers are called Style Design rulers, and they come in all sorts of fun shapes and sizes. I have absolutely no idea how to use them. I don't know what any of the measurements are. They all mean absolutely nothing to me, but it's how I draft my patterns nonetheless. So, would have been good to have found a tape measure first. Okay, here's the tape measure. Okay. So, first things first, you're going to want a few measurements. The first is going to be your upper bust. We don't care about our bust on this dress because bamboo stretches. Well, most of the fabric we're working with stretches. Okay, so my upper bust is 41. You want to take that and divide it by 4. So, because it's on the fold, and this is just the front, and then there's a back piece. So, that will be 1, 2 fold, back piece, 3, 4 fold. Okay, so 41 divided by 4 is 10 1/4. So, that's our first measurement. The second measurement we have is called point to point. I'm not sure if you can actually see me, where you can see me. Okay. Point to point is nipple to nipple. So measure that. And my point to point is 10. So I'm going to, that's going to be 5 inches out. So I've got 5 inches out and I've got 10 1/4. So I'm going to take my lovely little rulers and I'm going to start making things up. So 5 inches out is where I'm going to want the points of the straps. And then 10 1/4 inches is where I'm going to want my side seam to start. Trying to think here. Again, remember, I have no idea how to use these. Non-zero zip. But they make nice little angles. So that's 10 1/4. This we started at 5 inches out, and now we need a neckline. And for this, we want these to come to a bit of a point. So I'm just going to turn this until I want this to be on a straight. So that looks about right to me. And now I'm going to take my straight rulers, because realize these panels are only 40, can you see what I'm doing down here? So these panels are only 40 inches wide. So the biggest bell you're going to be able to give yourself is 40 inches. So I'm going to put this ruler on an angle that is going to come up and run into my side seam angle up there. Can we see what I'm doing up there? Ish. So here's our little curve going into our side seam. I'm gonna put that right onto the straight there. And then I'm kind of short, so I'm going to let that run off a little bit because I'm not gonna need all of this length. My length will stop somewhere around there-ish. So that's our pattern. And put you up close. So we have this at the point to point out. So that's my 5 inches out because my nipple distance was 10 inches. We're on the fold, so that's 5 inches. Then my upper bust is 10 1/4. 41. So that divided by 4 is 10 1/4. So the space between that and my armpit curve is 10 1/4. And then this I just have go straight down to the end of the pattern. And now we cut this lovely thing that we just made up. And it already looks really way too big, like that looks big. But it is 10 1/4. We'll cut it. If it's too big, we'll take it in. pull this in a bit and make my 5-inch point to point come a little bit more this way, so the 5 inches will actually be here. Yeah. And I adjust it on site simply because I draft luck, so I can, know how something's gonna fit me. And this still looks like it's a little bit too big, so I'm just gonna bring that in a tiny bit, which will bring that in a tiny bit, and that angle's fine. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut. And be careful as you're cutting that you aren't moving your other rulers out of the way. Until you get to them. Then move them out of the way all you'd like. Whoa! Don't move them out of the way that much. Okay. New angle. Oopsies. Made a bit of an oopsie there. It's really not straight, but we'll pretend it is. Okay. Go ahead and cut anything that's still not cut. And this, you'll actually end up cutting, and you might as well do it while you're still on the straight. You want to cut it wherever it's 1 inch wide. So you'll cut your little points off like that. Okay. Now normally I cut both sides at the same time so that I don't have the headache that I'm about to have, which is having to trace this onto the other one. But I'm real quick going to guesstimate my height, and I'm going to do this at a bit of an angle. I'm just going to say I'm not short. Okay. So now this is our pattern. Again, fold your panel in half. It's most important that the bottom lines up, because that's going to be where you need the full width of the 40-inch panel, because you can see we cut off most of the top. Bamboo is not fun to fold at all. Like, I'm kind of barely touching it to smooth out the wrinkles because it'll just stretch around and you'll just make more of a mess. Okay, so I'm pretty content that I have most of my length as straight as it can be. So I'm going to pull this over to the inch line again. Now we're going to take our panel and line it up, and as you can see, you can actually line up the pattern. Oh, it's still down there. Sorry, so we're lining it up with the edge. Again, this is why you really kind of want to cut both panels at once. Just make sure it's as even as possible. And you can kind of see like where this lines up with this. This could probably move a little bit further down, but we don't need it to. So we are going to very carefully now, so without cutting what we just cut, we're going to trace. A front and a back to our Maxi panel dress. I'm gonna pause while I find something to make as a facing.